This day 384 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. If you'd like to sponsor our coming shir or more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be very greatly appreciated. Today we are doing Siman Reis Samach Daled, Sif Gimel through Tes. And talking about what we can use to light candles on Erev Shabbos. Gimel. Mikam Epsilon Shemani. For now we're going to talk about oil, which you can't fuel, I guess you should call it, which is not good for lighting candles. Lo bezeves, not with pitch. Lo b'shava, not with wax. Klomar, meaning latich shava means to melt the wax. Let's say and put a wick inside it in the molten wax. Kmo b'shemen, like we do with oil. That's also. But there is shava shalanu. But our wax candles, are obviously good for candle lighting. Otherwise, we would be in deep trouble. For love time and one guy use kik oil. There's several interpretations of this. These are grass seeds which are fatty. Which produce very thick oil. The two writes it's cottonseed oil. Both interpretations of the Gemara there. There's another interpretation of Gemara. It's a type of bird which is called a kik. But no stem mashum they put its oil in a candle and it burns ayin sham. Lo zakruza the Paiskim they'll mention this. Because it's not prevalent at all. The love is shemen tzreifa. But shemen tzreifa zeu shemen shel truma shenitma. You can't use oil of truma which has become tamei to also b'achil b'hem of the seifa, which is oil which of course you cannot eat and can only be used to be burned. Yeshua Morshtei Kiblis. There are two ways of learning the Gemara. Chad and my b'chol Shabbos. One is that it's talking about every Erev Shabbos. You can't use it no matter what. There's Africa the Shem Yafahu. And prohibition is even though it's very good oil, it can be olive oil. But it's drawn after the wick. Nevertheless, the nation mitzvah of sorrowful because it's a mitzvah to burn it. We're afraid you're going to play with the wick, incline to make it brighter. So the oil should be consumed quicker. The second is that interpretation of Erev Shabbos Yontif. So Erev Shabbos, which is on a Yontif. And the prohibition is because you can't burn kachim on Yontif, and the Shemen Tzreifa, even though it's not technically kachim, it's similar enough that they made a gzeira on it. The Rambam Vorshitafas Kain, Rambam seems that he learned that latter way. Shabbos Lozkir Zaklal doesn't mention this on Hilchos Shabbos at all. Yontif Ber Gimel, he's Gazania Chalosh Mesayin Sham. He mentions it in terms of relative to Challah, which came to me, which would be the same premise. May I do anything with Truma? Of course, that would include Truma because it would be the same halacha. Dav lo b'shuman ha'alya, not with the oil of the tail. The lo b'chelev, not with tallow. No, I get tallow. I don't know if that's the right word. With the forbidden fats. Shek shemalikim bokum over shemen. Again, it's to use it, and I think it is tallow. We use it like oil. In other words, you melt it and then use it with a wick. Now, there's shalana, but our candles shall chelev, of which are made of tallow, tovim od. Yeah, very good. Flub itron, upsol shel hazefes. Don't use itron, which is the refuse of pitch. Mitchila zav of, and initially flows thickly. The anonim shachar psila is not drawn after the wick. Then it flows more clearly. But even though at that point it is drawn after the wick, because it has a foul smell, we're afraid you're going to leave it, and go somewhere else. And Shabbos supposed to eat where the candle is. We use kerosene, which we call gas. Even though it's not good, I'm not sure, actually, I should say. It could be it's probably about a little gas, like because kerosene, I think, is liquid when it's used as a fuel. So I think he means neft as a fuel, which we call gas. And the Arukh HaShulchan gaslight was evidently prevalent. Even though it doesn't have a good smell, it doesn't. It's not called a bad smell. Also, no, it seems to talk about actual kerosene. I don't know why they call it Gaza, because it's not a gas. But it says when it's closed up in a candelabrum, which actually is a kerosene lamp in this case. And you put it on a glass. Lampin, like our lamps, don't smell anything at all. So it's also used in the houses of aristocrats. So you might ask, what's the difference if people might leave it and eat elsewhere? Many people eat in the courtyard, even though they lit candles inside the house. Yesh Tomar could say the candles are supposed to add pleasure and not to cause anguish. If he has more pleasure in the courtyard because of the air, or because there are flies in the house, obviously not the circumstance eat in the courtyard. But the anguish in the house should not be caused by the candles themselves. It's a sap which comes from ktaf trees. Because the contrary has a very good fragrance. And the fragrance dissipates. The chashin and shema, you start with a fragrance, take that oil out of the candle because of its fragrance in order to enjoy it. Tanya Tosefta, we learned in the Tosefta, Hanos and Shemel and somebody puts more oil into a candle on Shabbos. Mavir is liable because of a condition. I stop it. Somebody removes oil from a candle on Shabbos. Because he's extinguishing. There's another reason on Tzri. There's more faith because it flies. The back because they bias and adheres to the walls of the house. Mavir bias and puts the house on fire. Chashim were afraid that a person will be nervous about his property. Will come to extinguish it. For here we can learn this we learn not to close our ovens, which is really how we learned about earlier, with wood because of the same concern. Shabbos says that many times. This brings the Chilul Shabbos. But yes, however, people do close that was Magen Avram's concern. So it says, but yes, we do close the oven with wood. They should tangle though because our ovens are large, but and the coals are banked. And they're very distant from the cover. We're not concerned. Hey, Arukh HaShulchan, the Teva Shmonim Aroim. The nature of these bad oils, if you put a little bit of good oil into them, they're drawn after the wick. Nevertheless forbade that mode of use. If you allow to use it by mixing a little bit of good oil, will come to light it down below a roof. Even without mixing the good oil, it'll come to light it. And then you're going to come to play with the wick. Mr. Brewer says if most of it is from kosher oil and minority from apostle oil, then it's okay because it's butter barof. Bad oil is butter and the good oil. Says Arukh HaShulchan, don't think this is like a gzera, a decree upon a top of a decree. Because it's very close to definite. It's going to come to play with wick. Furthermore, don't decree gzera. It's all one decree. The time they made the decree, but not to like this with these types of fuels, because they made a decree. No matter what mode you use, in what mode you use the fuel, whether they're by themselves, or by mixture. But the primary answer is like the first answer that it's very close to definitely you're going to play with the wick. This is my thesis on Daf Chol Gimel base. He quotes here in the brackets the language. If it's not fully liquefied, he's certainly going to incline it incline the wick because it's not drawn after the wick properly, the fuel. You use fish oil. But fish intestines which have been liquefied, you can't use. It is drawn after the wick. We don't use liquefied intestines because then you might come to use non-liquefied intestines. When they're not liquefied, it's not drawn after the wick. I don't know if that, whale oil, before they had gas and kerosene, whale oil is very prevalent. And I assume whale oil is real oil, that wouldn't be a problem. So to cook and melted tallow, even though it's drawn after wick, you can't go nevertheless also chachamim. Chachamim forbade its use because we're concerned because you might use non-molten tallow. Then it was not drawn after the wick. You put into the fish innards, which have been liquefied, or the molten tallow, a little bit of good oil, you can use them. The logos, we're not concerned, and we don't decree atu less. You're not putting them in the oil, but unless they're not liquefied or molten. That is a true gzera to gzera, a double gzera on top of another gzera. The logos, we don't make such a decree. But B'dina Kodim, as opposed to the previous halacha, which we just mentioned before, love gzera, that's not gzera, time should be on Kodim, either because it's karav levadai, it's almost clear, definitely you're going to play with the wick, or because when those are the type of oils which are so unsuitable, they just decreed and forbidden without any differentiation. Furthermore, the kind of sholosh gzeros can move on. There will be 3 decrees. I guess because using it's in why is it 3 decrees? Can move on. It's fish innards, and we're making where there's additional oil, and they've been dissolved. They've been liquefied. So since you make zera with on fish oil which hasn't been liquefied, which has also not had other oil mixed in, so that's like a triple gzera. Okay, back to this Varan. That's a big chumrah. The Ran required that the tallow, if you're using it, should have been molten from the time it left the animal. Most poskim not seem to learn this way. Which the brewer says, this is as long as it hasn't been solidified. But if it becomes solidified, then the Ran forbids even if you put additional oil into it. Okay, Zayin. The same thing is true about wicks, which you shouldn't use. If you wound something with a wick that you can use, on top of something which you cannot use, even though now the light does not flicker, you come nevertheless aim at the but you can't use it. Because you're afraid you might come to light in something which you cannot light with on its own. Like he made the decree by oils. But that's only if the intent was that they both should burn, both the good wick and the bad wick. What if he didn't have in mind that they both should burn? And we told Shoya Dak, but rather because the good wick was very fine. So you add the other bad wick to thicken it. It's miscible, even though they end up both burning. It's interesting. The halacha says that if it's something the thing which you can use as a wick is the minority. I'm not sure exactly the same Balak, but he says here that I guess the good wick is minority, even though you're using it since the majority wick is no good, so you go after the rove. Anyway, but again, the Arukh HaShulchan is saying where you're supporting the good wick with bad wick, that's okay. And what Mishnah would say, not if it's a rove, but according to the Arukh HaShulchan, it doesn't seem to make a difference. Here we're not concerned you might come to light with the bad wick by itself. He didn't have mind here to light the bad wick, he had in mind just to support the good wick. Rashi Shamash the Miskam also. Rashi sounds like when you're trying to thicken the wick, the good wick, and you don't wrap them together. The low bishvila ovi osekain. You have to eat for more thickness. El kadesh low teeth bab silak share, but rather that the kosher wick should not drown by shemen in the oil. Meniach psula lamata. You put the not good wick below. Samech share and lean the kosher wick on it. Those who say the Rashi by Lokashem Aser B'chol Gavne. If you like both of them, it's no good. Only if you use one to hold up the other. Niels Daitin there, the Gam Rashi, Yoda, Lariv, Shematir. Arukh HaShulchan says, no, even Rashi, we can see that it's permitted. Shem Farsh, come on, Chesed, so that happened. Happens to have another Mahalach in the Gemara. Okay, it seems the base Yosef seems to intermingle, says the brackets. So Yosef seems to combine the sheet of the Rashi and Rif. Not for now. Ches. Mitam Shish Bar. For that reason, which we just explained, you can wrap something which you can use as wick. Agabi ka gemi on top of a rope, a hemp rope, kash, or a straw. In order to hold the wick up in the socket, in the oil receptacle. I don't mind to light this rope or this straw. Grease shell pool. You can also put a block of salt or a legume, a pianer of Shabbos, on the opening of the candle of Shabbos. So burn nicely on Shabbos. Evidently, this somehow makes the candle burn more nicely, and there's no problem with that. Any other wick besides those we mentioned, you can use to light. The Arukh HaShulchan says that cotton is best. Its light is clear, and the oil is drawn nicely after the wick. Besides that, all the oils which we have not enumerated, allowed to use to light. The highest 4 mitzvahs with olive oil. Now, all the oils should take precedence over wax. And wax over the tallow. However, that the tallow is clarified. Yosef told me, and it's better than a wax candle. So then, it's better. And that which forbade wax and tallow, and that's only if using them like oil in a liquefied state. But if you wound wax or tallow around a wick, kind of like our candles, you can use them. And you can also use pitch in that fashion. If you wound together shemen, which is not good oil, and a psila wick, which is not good wick, to get us still you can't use it. Oil, even though it's drawn very nicely after the wick, shemen dregs of oil, they're not drawn so you can't use them like candles on Shabbos. Test anything which is no good for lighting, whether it's the problem of the wick or a problem of the oil. Asurim ben b'nei shulchan la'achila. They're forbidden both for the candles which are on the table for eating, and also for other candles in the household. They're all meant for light. Let us connect them with tashmish, meant to enjoy them in usage. If you light with the things which are forbidden, also you can't use the light. Even if it's a usage which doesn't require careful examination. Because they're afraid going to incline the wick to make it work better. There's somebody else to remind you, also it's still forbidden. It's not like we will write. But also we say now to learn by the light of a candle. The Shnaim type of two people do it together, it's permissible. The Shani also difference. There's something that they're the issues that certain which requires analysis. We are concerned. The Shulchan Shabbos and they might forget Shabbos because of your analysis. when they're two together, Hashem is going to say, I'll remind you. But here, the Chashashim Nation Hanedelik Yofe, that the issue is that the candle doesn't burn brightly. Yishkach V'yate. The issue is analysis. Okay, so remind you not to analyze so closely, despite your analysis, not to play with the wick. But here the issue is not burning properly. So here might in fact forget and play with the wick. Yesh Koshin here, therefore we should be concerned. With two people that they're going to forget, or because there's a lack of light. It's now like analysis. It's unlikely two people see so involved in their analysis, they're going to forget that today is Shabbos.